If you're considering joining the United States Army, well, stick around because in this video I'm going to be talking about 5 tips that I have for you that you should probably consider taking care of before you take off to basic training. What's up, my friends? Welcome to an all-new video. I'm U.S. Army veteran ThatChrisChaos, and today I've got some tips to kind of help you prepare yourself for basic training. There's some different things that I definitely recommend that you should make sure to square away, to get taken care of, to be prepared before you take off to basic training, or even if you're going to OSUT. Now, if you're in this situation, you're getting ready to take off to the Army, you're interested in the Army, maybe you're currently in the Army and you want to know more about the United States Army, well then you should make sure that you are subscribed to this channel. Even think about clicking on that bell so you get alerts as soon as new videos go live, to include the live streams and become a part of that awesome notification platoon. So let me help you out with some tips that I recommend that you make sure that you do before going to basic. Starting with the first one, very common one you probably already know about, but that's making sure you get into shape. Now, yes, when you go to basic training, they are going to whip you into shape. But if you go into it, you know, like, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to wait until I go to basic training. They're going to whip me up into shape anyways. You're just going to have a harder time. Yes, you'll be okay, possibly, depending on how bad of shape you're in before you go to basic training. But I don't recommend doing that, because if you think you're in great shape and then it turns out you're in horrible shape and now you're really struggling to meet the standards and everything like that, it's a bad day. So I recommend going into it in good shape, the best you can. Main thing working on is cardio. Some people think that, I'm gonna go lift a bunch of weights, I'm gonna do a bunch of push-ups. That stuff is good to a certain point, but cardio I feel like is one of the very important ones, because if you build a good cardio base, then it helps you to be able to keep up, because you have the cardio to allow you to keep up with the runs, the road marches, the smoke sessions, all of that stuff. So make sure before you go to basic training, you're good at, doing some runs. Maybe you're going for like 3, 4, 5 mile runs, whatever. Maybe doing some little practice road marches for like 4 or 5, 10 miles, something like that. Make sure you do the push-ups and the sit-ups and other kind of, upper body strengths as well to make it a little bit easier. But the main core focus is having good cardio, because then when they're trying to whip you into shape, if you have good cardio, you can kind of keep up and you can kind of, build on that because you have a good cardio base. The second tip I would probably recommend is to make sure that your bills are going to be taken care of while you're in basic training. You may have something like maybe a car bill, for car payment. Maybe you have student loans, whatever the case is. You might have some bills, you might have nothing. If you don't have any bills, well then you can probably skip this step and you're probably pretty good. But if you do have bills, you need to make sure that you're gonna have a way to take care of those, because you're not gonna have access to the internet, to the phone, very little phone access, maybe once or twice during basic training, maybe not at all, and not until the end of basic training. Sometimes that just kind of varies. But the key thing is you're not gonna really have access to be able to take care of these bills. So if you need to make a car payment, you're not gonna have a chance to go and get on the internet to make sure your bank transfers the money to your other bank for taking care of the car payment, or whatever other bills you might have. So it's key to either have set up like maybe something like automatic payments, so those are automatically getting charged, or you have someone that you can trust that can take care of those payments for you. Maybe they have access to your bank or your debit card or whatever, and they can take care of those bills for you while you're gone. At some point in time, right, you'll have back control of being able to do that kind of stuff once you get it. Sometimes an AIT, sometimes not. Sometimes you may have to wait until your first duty station, your first unit that you go to, before you have full-on access to be able to, continue doing those bills on your own. But make sure you have a plan as far as who's gonna make sure these bills get taken care of while I'm in basic training, and even AIT, just to be, prepared and be sure. If you don't have any bills, well then cool. You probably have one less thing you have to worry about, and it makes it a lot easier. Tip number 3 is, if you have not yet taken the ASVAB, make sure you study for it. Some people just go into it, they're like, I'm pretty good, I'll just be all right, I'm not gonna really worry about studying for it. I was pretty good in high school or whatever, so I'm just gonna take the thing. And sure, you might do fine, you might do great, and then you might get into it and maybe there's certain things you didn't expect, and that kind of really hurts your overall score, or your score in a specific area that you really needed to score well in to get the MOS that you want to get. As an example, I'm gonna throw up a question right here. So take a look at that question, pause the video. Is that a question that you can easily answer, or is that something you're gonna struggle with? That's just an example of maybe one question in the math section, at least, of the ASVAB. There is a lot of online resources that you can go to. You can get to some free ones, you get some one that you paid for, and you can use those to kind of study and make sure that you're well prepared for the ASVAB. This is one that a lot of people, love to use and everything like that. I need to do a full-on review of this thing, and maybe I'll do that in a future video, but I'll link this down to Amazon down below, and if you do happen to use that link to buy it, well, it does help out the channel a little bit, but that is one paid version way to kind of help you prepare for the ASVAB. There's also a lot of different ways, like just by simply doing a Google search for ASVAB practice tests or ASVAB study sites or something like that, where you can probably utilize those resources to help you study for the ASVAB. The difference a lot of times with the free ones compared to like the ones you pay for, like the ASVAB for Dummies book, is that when you do the free ones, it may not really kind of break it down as far as how you were supposed to get that answer and how to kind of improve. Where like the ASVAB for Dummies and certain other ones you pay for, will kind of build on that to where, yes, they'll give you a question, but then afterwards they may explain to you how you were supposed to get that answer if you didn't know how to get the answer. So you get what you pay for, right? If you are short on cash, then maybe you have to do the free one. If you have a little bit to spend on, then maybe recommend using some of the paid for ones, because you will get a little bit more in-depth kind of explanations as to how to get these answers and how to kind of solve those answers. The fourth tip I will recommend is prepare yourself. That way you know what to expect. You don't want to go into it blind. That's basically what I had to do when I joined the Army, and a lot of people probably possibly had to do, but go into it, knowing what to expect a little bit. That could come from watching my videos, watching someone else's videos, doing your own research on the internet, whatever the case is, kind of, learn what to expect. That could be from basic training especially, gotta get an idea of what's it gonna be like in basic training, what's it gonna be like in my AIT for what I'm going to. If I'm doing OSUT, then what it's gonna be like for OSUT. But also beyond that, like if for the Army in general. Make sure you're prepared and you know what you're getting yourself into. What is the day-to-day life kind of like for that MOS? Or what is it like if I do deploy? Or what is it like when I go to the field? All those kind of things, right? It's good to go into that so you're not just going into this with all these questions, right? You're still gonna have questions, sure, but if you can try to maybe minimize those questions down and have at least a little bit of a general understanding as to knowing what you're getting yourself into because you prepared before you went to basic training, then that can definitely make things a little bit easier, set your mind at ease a little bit, maybe less worries, whatever the case might be. But definitely, like an example, definitely go through my channel, self-promoting, sure, but go through my channel, maybe look at the topics in there, see if that's something that maybe you feel that could be beneficial for you to know, for you to go into, to expect. Check out other, YouTubers, other channels, other search results to see if there's other things that you can find that maybe kind of gives you a little bit of heads up as to what to expect when you go into the Army. Now, the fifth and last tip that I'll give you is make sure you have some fun before you take off. That's because you're about to take off to maybe 10 weeks of basic training, maybe 22 weeks of OSUT, maybe a little bit longer or whatever for certain kind of factors, especially with like this COVID stuff that's currently going on as of recording this video, but making sure that you enjoy some of the finer things of life. You're about to go on lockdown, you're about to be really heavily restricted, and you may start to miss a lot of those things, right? The easy things, like maybe you have a favorite food, a favorite restaurant, so make sure before you take off to basic training or OSUT that you enjoy some of those restaurants. That way you got a chance to just kind of live it up a little bit before you went on those restrictions. Of course, you're gonna get to a certain point where you're gonna go back to getting to enjoy those things. It's not like they're gone forever, of course, but basic training, AIT, you may not get to go back to enjoying those things until you get to your very first unit. So make sure, maybe it's food, maybe it's just especially friends and family, right? Enjoy your time with those friends and family. Go and do something fun. Maybe your friends, you go on a road trip, you go do some cool adventures so you have these awesome memories to look back on while you're in basic or OSUT to remember, oh man, it was so cool that I got to do this with my friends and I look forward to, completing this and doing that again. Maybe take a little fun little vacation, right? Especially even when you get to your first unit, you're still gonna have restrictions, right? There's gonna be certain things that you may have enjoyed in your civilian life, the freedom of certain things or whatever, that you got a little bit more restrictions on once you actually are officially in the Army, you're at your first duty station and everything like that. Try to enjoy some of those things, right? Before you have all these restrictions on yourself of being in the United States Army. Now, be moderate with it, right? Don't get too crazy with it. Be like, oh man, I'm about to be heavily restricted, in the Army. I'm gonna go do some cocaine, go get high. I'm gonna go get super wasted, whatever the case is. And then you get yourself in trouble, come up hot on a drug test, or get in some trouble with law enforcement and then kind of screw up your Army career or being able to even join. So be cautious, right? I'm not saying go and be reckless and careless, do things within the parameters that's not going to land you in trouble and screw up your future. So those are just, 5 things that I kind of, wanted to recommend to make sure you take care of before you take off to basic training. For those of you that maybe have already gone through this experience, maybe you look back and you're like, oh man, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have done that. Or there's a great thing that I did do before I went to basic training that really helped me out. I would love to hear from you guys down in the comment section, whether you're someone that, recently graduated from basic training, a veteran, whatever. Leave some comments down below of maybe some other tips that are good advice for someone that is, going to be going off to basic training or OSUT sometime in the future. What should they take care of before they make that leap into, their future Army career? I've also got 5 things you probably shouldn't do before you take off to basic training or join the Army, and that's gonna be coming up in a video real soon, so make sure to keep an eye out for that one. If you'd like to interact with some of the amazing community of the Chaos Army, make sure you hit up that Discord channel, link down in the description. You can talk with some people that are about to go off to basic training soon, interested in the Army, maybe some veterans, people currently serving, all sorts of awesome people in the Discord channel. Links down in the description, also for my social media, so definitely check those out as well. If you enjoyed this video, found it helpful, maybe think about sharing it, but at least hit that thumbs up for me. Thanks so much for watching. I'm ThatChrisChaos, and I'll see you next time.